that powerful, you know, 5G repellent energy, you know, from these 5G niggas. You feel me? So we're gonna go ahead and go back to our topic. You feel me? Like we're gonna spray that 5G nigga repellent, and hopefully this shit keeps the flies away. You know what I mean? It keeps the rodents away. You know, it keeps the rats away. Keeps the cockroaches, bro. Like, where'd you come from, bro? Like, I seen cockroaches bigger than you, bro. Like, I seen cockroaches tougher than you, bro. Like, I seen cockroaches with more wives than you, bro. I'm just playing. Fuck. Anyways, but we gonna go back to the surf. Like, we go back. Like, bro, don't make me. But new live, new energy, right? So we gonna go ahead and go back into this thing, right, with the beautiful queens. Peace and love. Peace and love to everybody joining. Peace and love, positive vibes, you know, happy vibes. You know, we want to, you know, bring a loving atmosphere, a positive atmosphere. Let's get it. Let's get it. So hopefully this will work again. We're gonna a center request, Queen. I think that may be the reason why. A center request, you know. So before, you know, we bring her back into the building, is we want to restart this live, restart the energy. We want to get the energy back going again. We want to make this live an awareness live. We want to make this build a build to where we can inspire many different people. We can inspire many different thoughts, whether that be positive, whether that be negative thoughts. We want to inspire all different thoughts from all different experiences to put their comments in the building. You know, we want to you know, like, put the comments in the building. We want to put your thoughts in the building. We want to inspire all forms of thought, you know, whether it be about our relationship or the other relationships out there, you know. So we're gonna go ahead and leave him, you know, because he hasn't said anything disrespectful yet. So guys, just ignore him, you feel me? Ignore the fly, and hopefully he goes away, you feel me? Like, ignore the roach, and these niggas will just cease to exist, you feel me? So we're gonna build things like that, you know. So we want to spread awareness to all women about the different types of relationships, and just whatever is spoken in the flesh of the fruit of this build. You know, we want to, you know, we want y'all to be emotional. We want y'all to really tap in. You know, we want y'all to like no matter if you're hurt, no matter if you're still dealing with trauma, put it in the chat, because these goddesses may have went through what you went through, you know what I mean? Or I might have went through what you went through, you know what I mean? So maybe we can bring a different perspective or a different light to the chat that maybe you didn't think about, you know? And maybe today you won't try it. Maybe like a year from now you won't try it, you know what I mean? But you might think about that thought, and that might heal you from the pop, you know what I mean? Or whatever you're going through, right? So the goddess is coming back in. Hey.
Hey.
You can hear us now?
Yes.
Oh. New live, new energy. Let's get it. Right, so you burning that sage? Hey, that's real. So before we say anything else, do y'all want to just go in? Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's just go in, right? So the first question for you, Delina, is what are some steps that you took, right? So tell your experience and what and like the wisdom that you received, but also, if you can, for the women that that aren't you, you know, is what are some steps that you think that they could take as well, after you've given, you know, like your soliloquy about is your steps as well that these women can take if they're on the fence on polygamous relationship.
Mm-hmm. So you want me to go first, or you want Zoe to go?
You can go first.
Okay. So I feel like for me, I was introduced into polygamy kind of early on. Like, I already knew about it from a European sense, but also just like culturally, like in Africa as well. And so it was something that I was always aware of. It was something I was always open to. But I didn't really start exploring it for myself until I was in a relationship, actually with this man who was from Haiti. and he was Haitian, and we were together for 3 years.
Wow.
And within that relationship, I actually wanted us to have an open relationship, which is not the same thing as polygamy, but the reasonings behind it were the same when it comes
Mm-hmm.
to the benefits that I saw when it came to like emotional support and just
Mm-hmm.
having an person, there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, and what kind of led me to that as well is within, like, kind of being immersed within the Haitian culture. Um, Within a lot of other cultures outside of the U.S., when they are like their family unit is very close knit, it's very tight knit. It's not, it's not like when you graduate from high school or college, you go off and have your own life. It's very,
Mm-hmm.
they want you to stay at home, and
Mm-hmm.
it's very close knit, and everyone works together. And um, when it comes to the grandparents, the parents, and the children, like they all live together, and it's actually a very beneficial structure. It's something that I noticed within that because it's like within this uh, society when all the things that we're doing when it comes to working and things like that, especially with women and men working in the household, it becomes very difficult if you do have children to raise them or to give them the proper energy and time that it takes to raise them. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I feel like, in seeing the family structure of how within the Haitian culture, like they kind of came together when it came to their generations and really helping to raise the children. Like the phrase "it takes a village to raise a child" is really really rings true. I experienced this with my own sister where I was helping her. When she was a single mother and everything like that, she was really needing that extra help and that extra lending hand. And so me and my sisters, banded together and helped her as much as we could when it came to raising my niece and nephew and really like giving our energy and teaching them and just caring for them and loving for them and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, yeah, just seeing that and when it comes to um, I was also previously a nanny. So being a nanny, I saw even if it wasn't a single parent household, if it was a couple,
Mm-hmm.
um, they often were having kind of difficulties when it came to trying to sustain themselves and to be secure, you know, and also raising a family.
Mm-hmm.
And so they would often bring in someone else as a nanny to help out with that, who could really put the time and energy into doing that. And I see that, although it's not labeled in that way, like I see that as a form of polygamy almost, because you're bringing in another woman or another, it, primarily it's woman.
Mm-hmm.
I see that as them, bringing that in, saying, okay, I need this extra support. It's just not called that.
Yeah. So basically, like, you think that bringing another nanny in, it's still another form of polygamy. It's just not a sexual attraction or a physical
Exactly.
attraction. It's
Exactly.
there to help the children, help with the house, help with like everything else, but the husband and things like that. And I definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
Maybe.
And it's even being a nanny for for the mother, like you provide emotional support for her. You're there
Mm-hmm.
for her if she ever needs someone to
Right.
talk to. It's a very much a bond with that as well. So I feel like that's kind of how I got introduced to it, or started thinking about it even more.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but when it comes to myself and me just being comfortable with the fact of, I feel like something that's really um, a common thing that women feel within a polygamous relationship or something that they're worried about is jealousy or the
Mm-hmm.
feeling of, not wanting to share someone that they deeply love. Like they don't want to share that person or that individual. They don't want to see that, that individual have or it for it to seem as if a part of their love is being given to someone else.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and again, I think that what kind of taught me that that wasn't always the case was actually working with children, because when you see children, you know, they have one parent, but they're shown, you know, that parent is able to give love to both of their children, however many children that they have. Although, you know, it may be in different forms and everything like that, but I feel like that really kind of helped me. And then just also realizing that, you know, within a relationship, like, again, the areas that I need to, um, the areas that are my strengths and the areas that are my areas that I could grow in, you know, and having another individual to help support that and to build with that. So, yeah, that's how I got introduced into, or kind of have been thinking about polygamy most of, or majority of my life. Um, Sorry, hold on. Let me just read the.
You're good. So I have a question, you know, before you go
Yeah.
back on. Um, what is one step that you had to look within you, um,
Mm-hmm.
and you had to figure out, you know, when it comes to, were you already good at making relationships with other queens? Were you already good at, you know, befriending other queens and just holding a normal friendship relationship? Like, you know, were you those type of women, or were you that type of woman that was always beefing with other women? You know,
Mm-hmm.
what type of woman were you when it came to how you dealt with other women? You know, because I know that for some women that are naturally beefing with other women, right, it's a little bit more harder for them to accept this idea than a woman that has already experienced teamwork within a woman's society, like whether that be sports, whether that be music, whether that be a band, whether that be some type of female, you know, or woman, you know, activities, you know. So
Yeah. So for me, growing up, I definitely was more friends. It was easier for me to make friends with males or men or boys or
mm,
things like that. But it was more so because of our interests. A
mm,
lot of the time, our interests were, it was more geared towards, you know,
mm,
we just had a lot more in common when it came to our interests. But when it came to bonding with other women, there was a sense of mistrust that I had to get over. And that was just because of a lot of traumas that happened to me when I was younger, where it made me very mistrustful towards women.
mm,
So that's something that I had to really kind of go within and work on, is kind of building that trust, you know,
mm,
and really knowing that, not going inherently into any situation with a woman and automatically being mistrustful. But I think another element that has added on to me kind of being used to, or witnessing a very strong bond with another woman, is I have a twin sister, you know, and so witnessing a twin bond and a bond with another woman, and just seeing how we can come together and build together, that was something where there was absolutely no, you know, competition with us. It was all about growth and growing together. And so I feel like that definitely added to my mindset of not being competitive, you know, with other women.
And you touched on a great point, going even further back to what you were saying about the nanny being a form of polygamy, because I hadn't even thought about that, but the couple has a relationship with her and she forms a relationship with the children in a different way. So I think you brought a new perspective that most of us hadn't considered about that.
exactly, you know, and that's a position that I haven't even considered, to be honest with you, um, you know, and that's crazy. And I would love to get, you know, since you work with children, and for other nannies out there, you know, that also have this experience, you know, how does the children view you, you know, when you're dealing with them, like the mother as well? Like, do they come to you for certain things rather than the mother? Do they, you know, how are they able to function between both women that they know one is obviously their mother, but one is the, you know, You know, like the like you know you're like the nanny, right? The nanny, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that it depends kind of on the amount of time and energy that the mother is putting into her child as well. I think naturally, if a child is very young and they're kind of used to being around your energy a lot, and you're not the mother, they can kind of come to you a bit more. Um, it's kind of just what they become accustomed to and used to is, like they kind of view you almost as the mother. But when it's a bit more balanced, it's kind of both. It's like for my niece, I know like she would come to me and my twin sister for things, so it was just whatever she, felt. Yeah.
Okay, okay, okay. So before we go to Zoe, what are some steps that you think that other women can take, that don't have the same experience as you? Maybe you can think of some other experiences that your friends have taken or your sister have taken, and put yourself in their shoes and try to, imagine what type of steps that they would need to take, and those experiences to be open to a polygamous relationship. So, like, what steps do you think that a woman who has never had that type of sister bond with anybody, any woman, like, how would you think that she could even be open to even having this idea, or do you think that she should just worry about just being monogamous and working on herself? Like,
No, because I mean, even if you know a woman isn't necessarily interested in polygamy, I feel like it's still important to have a sisterhood bond with any women that they interact with. So I feel like it just takes practice. Just find women around you that you resonate with, and build relationships with them. You can do things that you enjoy together, do a book club, or go hiking out in nature, or just things like that. Because I think a lot of it does stem from mistrust of women. So I feel like kind of doing things to build that and to kind of reprogram yourself to show yourself that it's not all women are mistrustworthy, and that there are amazing women out there who are like very worthy of being connected with. I feel like just doing that will definitely help. you know
So,
and I think also just sorry, just to add on
there you
to
go.
that is to yeah to try to build with women a lot, work together with women, like try to put yourself in settings where you're not always competing with another woman. I know that it can be that way in sports or so
Well,
many other things, just regular everyday
like
life,
job,
but
yeah, like your job.
try to yeah, exactly, try to do put yourself in positions where you're with women and you're building with them. So whether that's like you guys are growing a garden together, or you're learning new information together, or just anything that's not so focused on competition will really help, you kind of,
Ease
yeah.
yourself into it, ease yourself into that sisterhood bond, And I definitely,
Yeah.
your term is, man.
Was okay. So what was the question? Some steps.
Yeah. So, what are some steps that you took personally to get you opened up or ready, or even, thinking about this type of stuff? And what are some steps that you think that other women with other experiences outside of yourself could do, is to get them ready, or is to get them set up for this type of relationship?
Okay. I think that finding a polygamous relationship is pretty similar to finding a monogamous relationship. I think the steps for both types of relationships are similar. You first need to discover yourself, discover who you are, what you like, what you don't like, what you value, what you don't value, so that you'll be able to find those things in your partner or partners. And then you want to identify your needs and what you need to grow, so that you can find partners that match the areas that you need to grow in, and so that you can find people to help you grow in those areas. I would say the 2 big steps.
So what's some steps you took?
I took time to find myself in what I liked and what I didn't like in a relationship, and the areas that I wanted to grow in my relationship and better myself in for my next relationship. So I did some shadow work and did some healing, and
what does that look like? Like, what is, I hear people say, like, I hear your goddesses and people say shadow work, but what does that look like? Like how does a woman actually go back into her memories? Because it's painful, it's painful, because when it comes to being a polygamous relationship, there's so much, trauma that you have to have healed when it comes to your father, when it comes to your boyfriend, when it comes to yourself, when it comes to dealing with other women. It can be painful going back into those memories. It can be hurtful. It can metaphorically or use an analogy, pick that scab. You know what I mean? And for some people that they're not ready to go back and to, do the work. So what does that look like, for you or for?
Well, for me, how I did my healing was I did a lot of reflecting. So the point is to reflect back, go back to those instances or circumstances where you experienced trauma or things that still hinder you today, and remove those blockages by scripting or journaling. I write down how I felt in that moment, how it affected me. I learned my lesson. So the biggest thing is to take the lesson from the circumstance. So you want to learn that lesson and then release.
See, and that's real. I don't mean to interrupt, babe, but what she said was a major dime, a major gem. A lot of us suppressed our lessons. Those memories that we have with we think just because we're children that we're not supposed to learn lessons. It's just we're not mentally developed to understand that experience that we experienced as a child, right, isn't a lesson. So there's some lessons that we didn't learn from our memories that are coming back into our adult life and causing issues. So some of us, don't want to go back because it's too painful, but you have to realize that there is a lesson learned within that memory that you have yet to learn to bring you to the next step, to cause that issues that are manifesting in your life to go away. So you're definitely right about that, and I think that went over a lot of people's head.
Well, that was it.
So what do you think, Delina?
Yeah, I was definitely going to say for me, when it comes to doing shadow work for me, I'm a writer, so I love to write. Even through my music that I write or my poetry, it's often me just confronting feelings through writing, feelings that I have maybe suppressed or things that need to be let go. But also another thing that I do is tapping, which is it's a form of kind of being aware of your energy centers or your meridians or your points within your body where you kind of hold on to the main points of your body where you hold on to energy and blockages. And so it's kind of you being present and really kind of thinking back onto certain traumas or emotions that you're feeling and completely feeling them. Because sometimes you only feel a little bit of them and then we suppress them into a certain area of our body. We can even start having ailments or a disease in that certain part of the body if we don't release that. A lot of the times when they call something like a tumor or things like that, everything physical stems from energetically and emotionally and spiritually first. So for me, just kind of going through things that I experienced in the past, and not only kind of recognizing that it was a lesson, but really feeling it completely, letting it completely overcome me, even if it, was a negative emotion, but feeling it and then releasing it, and not, because it would, if you don't feel it completely, then it's, it's going to stay with you. So I feel like that's something that I do within my own shadow work.
Mm. That's deep.
Yeah, that was.
That's deep. That's deep. And to answer some of the questions, so we don't leave the chat, unanswered. Before I get a man's perspective. She asked, most people can't handle monogamy, and you're exactly right. Most men can't handle like monogamy. Most women can't handle monogamy, and that's what Zoe and Delina, if y'all can listen and listen with your third ear, y'all can hear the common denominator, the commonality between what they're saying, and it's all about healing your self-worth. First, it's dealing with yourself first, understanding um, your shortcomings and your strengths, and understanding what you have to do to turn those shortcomings into strengths. You know what I mean? And once you have dealt with those lessons that you have forgot to learn from in your childhood, like Zoe talked about, then you can start to move the next step into the next stages of enlightenment and awakening that can bring you towards this type of path. So you're right. Most people haven't even mastered or is being with one person, and it doesn't take 1,000 years or 100 years or 20 years to master being with that person. You have to master being with yourself to master being with somebody else. You know what I mean? And we are, I haven't even mastered myself yet. You know what I mean? And these girls haven't even mastered themselves yet. You know what I mean? But we're working our way there. You know what I mean? And every day is another building block towards that. You know what I mean? So, we're constantly healing. But as long as you begin the journey, as long as you begin the pathway, you know what I mean? You're gonna find people that are on the same pathway, and whether that be male or female, and you're gonna connect. And your journey might require y'all to get together and heal together. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I want to add on to that. I think it's important that we are always healing. But I think it's important to acknowledge that if you are going to bring other people, into that process, that they are beneficial to your healing, and that they're not
facts.
Doing the opposite and causing you to have to heal from even more things, or
more trauma, or even or irritating or aggravating that trauma. You know what I mean? Because there's some, people that get into relationships to where that woman can't even look at that woman or deal with that woman because it's just constantly aggravating, like a wound. It's just like if you had a slice on your log, on your arm or your shoulder blade right there, right? And I kept putting my thumb in it, I'm aggravating shit, so it's gonna keep hurting. You know what I mean? So I can see how some people, haven't done enough work within themselves to understand and to heal those wounds. So when they get in relationships thinking that they're ready, it's just a constant aggravation of that wound, which is causing this woman to, have trust issues, have thoughts, act out of herself. Maybe she's not a person that is as territorial or as yelling or as, assertive or as aggressive, but maybe this woman or this man is bringing that out of her by aggravating that wound. You know what I mean? Aggravating that mental stigma, So I definitely agree with you on that. So you want to get to part two? A topic number two?
Sure.
Yeah. So topic number two, guys, is why does polygamy take a strong monogamous bond? And I want to start with Zoe on this one. If you want to go this one.
So it's cutting a little bit in and out for me right now. I don't know if you guys want to
bring you back in. Yeah. Okay, so let's go ahead. My bad, I apologize.
Maybe just a second. Because I think it seems like it's working, but it's just taking time to catch back up or something. I don't know.
Oh, it's like a second delayed. So we good?
But yeah, maybe just bring me back in.
Okay, let's try this. So we're gonna bring the guidance back in. We're having technical difficulties. Now it's freezing up. There we go. All right. So, is we're gonna bring her back in, you know. But before we go back in, I forgot to give a male's perspective, you know, about like steps that I took before I even entered like in this relationship, right? So steps that I feel like a man has to take before entering in a polygamous relationship. I feel like he has to get himself emotionally ready. You know, he has to get his mind emotionally ready. You know, he has to become an emotional alpha. You know, he has to, you know, the same way that we seek knowledge, in the same way how we are motivated to find the truth, is the same way that we should be motivated to find our emotional reactor, you know, our emotional reactor, not a nuclear reactor, but our emotional reactor, you know, the reactor that stimulates and lights up our flame, our emotional flame. And I feel like that's the first step that any man needs to take before doing anything, but especially when it comes to dealing with multiple women. You need to be able to stimulate them emotionally, you know, and each woman, you know, has different emotions, you know, so I can't stimulate Zoe the same way that I would stimulate Delina. I can't stimulate Delina the same way I would stimulate Zoe, you know, because they have two different experiences. They're two different people, you know what I mean? So Zoe might not like, you know, how I act a specific way, but she might like that, you know what I mean? And she might not like how you like how I am, you know, a specific way, you know what I mean? But that's okay, you know? So I think a man being emotionally, you know, an emotional alpha, emotionally mature, I think is the beginning step that every man needs to take before entering this type of relationship. So I just wanted to give a man's perspective before we give, you know, because I feel like I left mine out, you know what I mean? And I didn't want to, you know, do that. So let's begin with you, baby, right? Why do you think that polygamy takes a strong monogamous bond for it to be sustainable?
I believe that monogamy lays the foundation for a polygamous bond. Because in a monogamous bond, you guys are able to solidify your communication styles, your love languages, things that help build that initial strong bond are done in a monogamous bond. So you guys take the time to, because I'm just thinking back to our communication styles. So our styles of communication are very different. And it took us a while. It was a process to come to a middle ground, I would say, on our communication styles, not compromising. And that's the same thing that be a process on figuring out what works for that relationship, and bettering it and growing it. The polygamy can only come in once that foundation is already set
and solidified.
Because once you guys have that strong bond, you guys have already established core values and beliefs within that relationship that you guys have that can only be exemplified or multiplied through a polygamous bond. Yeah. So I think that polygamy sheds light or multiplies what a monogamous bond already has. Just like money brings out who somebody already is.
Exactly. Yeah. It amplifies it. You know what I mean? Beautiful. Exactly. You know, and I love the way that she articulated that, you know, because that's exactly right. You know, it takes strong communication, you know, skills. It takes strong foundation within your own self, and then strong foundation within each other. You know, to have that trust with with her, to have that trust with me, that I'm not gonna go behind her back and try to hurt her in any way. The trust that I have to have for her, that she's not gonna go behind my back and do the same thing. You know what I mean? So, you know, when it comes to having a strong monogamous bond, you know, you have to find, you know, your partner that you can really connect with, that you can really build with, you know, that understands you and that doesn't look at you and judge you, that understands that we've been hurt, that understands that, you know, you are greater than what you're standing right before her, you know, or before him, you know, that there's more to that, you know, there's more to your power. And, you know, a real woman will help bring that out of you, you know, a real woman will help, you know, unlock every potential, you know, as whatever the man comes up and wants to do, the woman will help bring that into fruition. You know what I mean? And I feel like, having that trust within each other, that I'm not going to go behind your back and be texting women the wrong way. I'm not going to be going behind your back and be sending women nudes or be asking for nudes or trying to link up and smash real quick. Like that takes trust. You know what I mean? And when and there's some men that when they say they're in polygamous relationships, that's basically, and when a woman agrees, that's basically, is in their mind, that's them, is getting acceptance from their woman that it's okay that they can bring in any woman into the relationship. You know what I mean? So they want to go out and they want to talk to all different types of women, but they don't realize, and this is how I know that a man's immature, like emotionally, like you don't understand that you and your woman have to go decide that, that you and your partner have to decide what type of woman that y'all need to bring y'all closer together. Because if y'all aren't bringing each other closer, if this partner's not bringing you closer, then why are you even in a relationship with this person? You know what I mean? It doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? So, having that trust within each other, having her trust within me that I'm not going to go behind her back and, be trying to, get a hotel room and link up with these other females or constantly be bringing females in and things like that. She knows my style. She knows what type of women I like. She knows what type of energies that I like around me. She knows that I'm picky. She knows that you can be beautiful as fuck. You know what I mean? But you're not thinking the right way or you're eating the wrong food. She knows that I'm disciplined within myself, So I feel like, that's one of the major reasons that she was so accepting into doing it was because I proved myself to her. I wasn't just talking about it. I wasn't just, like painting a picture. I actually is crystallized that picture and showed her on multiple occasions, that I am serious about this and I am who I say I am. You know what I mean? That I am like that I do want to do this the right way. And I do want to do this the way that I believe that is sustainable. You know what I mean? And that actually radiates positive and healthy light.
And women know when their man is deserving of having more than one queen. You know it. And Kulu proved himself. And so women, you will know through his actions,
Not my actions, but their actions.
Not his actions, but your own man's actions.
Mm-hmm. Appreciate it.
No problem. Okay.
So what about you, Queen?
Sorry, I'm just reading a comment. Yeah, I definitely feel like I agree with everything that y'all said. I feel like another big thing is communication,
Mm-hmm.
If your communication is not good within a monogamous relationship where you guys can't be vulnerable and open to each other about anything and everything, or your communication just in general, you don't know how to talk with each other, to speak to someone and receive them as well. I feel like it's going to be very difficult to elevate into a polygamous relationship if you don't have that already within a monogamous relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like communication is so, it becomes even more of a thing within a polygamous relationship.
Mm. I agree. Mm-hmm. So my question.
And I think. Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. No, you go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say that being like, yeah, in tune with your woman's emotions and in tune with your how she feels about things, and just allowing her to become, a part of the process.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like a lot of the times when men want to be polygamous, sometimes it's just the man, or he feels like he should be the only one who's involved in the process of bringing in another woman, wherein it's only beneficial for him, and I feel like it's, you're bringing someone into a relationship, you need to all of the energies need to be cohesive. You know, they all need to be balancing each other out and to really bring harmony. Um, and I feel like, you know, some men will just bring in any woman, and it can be just a very chaotic energy. Especially for, you know, being a woman, I know how much we can take on other people's energy, you know? And so for you to just, not you personally, but like for a man to just bring in any type of energy into, you know, and for you to like absorb that's a big thing, you know? Um, and so I feel like it's so important that the woman is involved in the process as well.
But I think that that's the biggest thing that made us doing it this way the right way. That he made sure that I was comfortable, that Delina was comfortable throughout the process, and that we never felt uncomfortable at any point at all. I think that was the biggest part. And him letting the women choose and decide for themselves what direction to take, because he trusted in our intuition, that was a right move as well. I would say that helps, because the bond between the queens is the most important part. And so whenever you let the queens form the relationship, you have a much better chance of, you know, having a successful.
And that's something that I think is very essential, and I mean, like a necessity in that part, is that the women need to be able to build and have their own connection. You know, if Zoe and Delina just were all two different frequencies and didn't vibe, you know, she wouldn't be here right now. You know what I mean? Like, let's just be real. Like, you know, if Zoe and Delina, you know, like connected, and like it wasn't easy at first. Like no relationship's easy, and I feel like a lot of women say they're polygamous, and they try to bring in a woman, and they're looking for that one thing to justify why they don't want to do it, and then they'd be like, "Oh, I tried it," you know what I mean, and things like that. And I feel like we have to understand that when you're bringing another person, when you're bringing somebody else, that person has hurt too. That person has trauma too. That person has, you know, experiences too that he or she went through, and that this is new for them as well. So they might not be as adjusted to this type of relationship. You know what I mean? So being patient, not just getting rid of it at first because it doesn't all link up right. You know, we gotta understand that there's no movie about this. There's no TV show. There's no step-by-step romance movie about how to do this shit the right way, on how to, you know, make sure all the energies are cohesive. You know what I mean? So you just gotta feel it out. You just gotta feel the vibe. And you know, prior to, you know, us even talking about polygamy or even bringing it up, you know, like Delina and I would have conversations about science, about, you know, atoms, about music, about sound frequencies, sound waves, and how they alter different things, you know. So I felt like, you know, when it comes to a polygamous relationship as well, you know, I wasn't looking for a woman that could, you know, help bring out more emotional power, because I got one right here. You know what I mean? She helps bring out my emotional side to a point to where I'm able to be strong enough to stand in that power, to stand in that emotion, and sometimes I let that shit affect me. You feel me? Because it is powerful, you know. But sometimes, you know, I can control it and be disciplined, you know. But with Delina, we developed a more mental bond. You know what I mean? But that doesn't say that Zoe's not as smart, or that we haven't developed a mental bond as well. You know what I mean? But when it comes to spiritual knowledge, you know, Zoe, you know, she wasn't like, yeah, like she was new to spirituality at the time. You know what I mean? So when it come to like talking about the universe, the cosmos, when I talked about at night, you know, after we done made love, or when we're laying down cuddling, you know, I want to talk about, you know, space, like what you thought about the afterlife, you know, and you know, I don't know how to explain it. Like what, like you know what I'm trying to say. You know, is we develop two different bonds. You know what I mean? Just like how a mother can develop two different bonds with her two different children. You know what I mean? And not saying that y'all are children, but you know, with Zoe, I developed more an emotional bond. You know, because of of her presence and her emotional intelligence. And with Delina, I developed more of a mental bond, but that doesn't mean that haven't developed a mental bond with Zoe. You know what I mean? That means that I see Delina as a person that can help Zoe, bring up that aspect. And when it comes to Delina as well, she's not as connected to the emotional aspect as well, and she can talk about that, like during her soliloquy, in a minute. But Zoe can help bring that out, that aspect out from her as well. And to help her love better, to help her love more, to help bring out the same thing that Zoe's helped bringing out in me. You know what I mean? So this is a relationship that can all help our strengths or our weaknesses become strength. You know what I mean? We're all different puzzle pieces, but that fit together to make one picture. You know what I mean? I feel like a lot of people find the same puzzle piece within different people, and they realize they only have, or they only have this much of the puzzle. You know what I mean? So, yeah, like that's how I, like take it as well. So, like, what do y'all think about that? Hmm? What? You tired?
A little.
I can tell it's late. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, for me, I feel like with Zoe, I feel like me and her are able to connect in a way where just being a woman, there's a connection there that necessarily you wouldn't be able to completely connect with her in that way. So I feel like that's something that a way that me and Zoe bond, but also, like you were saying, for me, growing up, I was kind of taught to suppress my emotions and or not suppress all of my emotions, but the negative ones, the ones that were if I was angry or sad or upset or hurt, those are the ones that I was taught to suppress. And so for me, I saw within Zoe her ability to help me and bring that out, for it to be okay to provide a safe space for me to express all of my emotions and that all of them were okay to feel. So that's definitely something that I really appreciated about Zoe and what gravitated me towards her. Yeah, and then within Kulu, definitely I saw there was a sense of like connectedness to your emotions as well, because of you and Zoe and your bond and her helping you with that. So that kind of trickled over as well because I saw that I saw your emotional intelligence, and I felt like that's not something within relationships where I have been on the receiving end of when it comes to being with another man. But also, for me, whenever I was in a relationship, it was always, I was putting in so much when it came to knowledge and information. And I didn't feel like we were building together. I felt like it was kind of like they were taking so much from me and everything that I was giving, but I wasn't receiving a lot. And when, what gravitated me towards you is that we could actually build together, and that even if we had differing views on things or the things that you were very knowledgeable and are very
Different.
very passionate about were different, but kind of the same at the same time. And so it motivated me to just be on my stuff even more, and that's not something that I had experienced before. So
I appreciate that. And um I want to speak for myself, but I felt like watching you and Zoe develop y'all's connection, has showed me the power in Black women especially unifying. You know what I mean? And why the society has tried and other races, from the history that we know, has tried so hard to break y'all apart, is that there's so much power and love between that type of energy, you know what I mean? And just the conversations that we have off camera when it comes to, my mom or Zoe's experience or your experience, there's so much different clarity, just not having, one perspective, but having many different perspectives, you know what I mean? Just brings so much clarity and so much comfortability, within our vulnerability, that it allows us to heal at a different rate than others would be, you know what I mean? So I feel like that's one reason why, they did what they did, was to stop, the connection, the unifying between the women, because at the end of the day is once we have that, you know, is everything's gonna come into place, like everything that come into, like I believe that if women had higher standards than men, then these men would be forced to step up, you know what I mean? And not all of them will, and some of them will switch races, and go to other women, but the real ones will step up and rise up and unify as well, so just observing y'all and y'all's connection, and when I click on Instagram and I see the little blue icon coming up and y'all are video chatting when I'm at work, or like that puts a smile on my face. Like that lets me know that I'm doing my role as a man, when it comes to unifying, it's two different women from two different backgrounds, you know what I mean? From two different experience, for once, like common goal, one common, goal is to rebuild that family bond, is to, get what we never got as children, you know what I mean? And build that for our future children, so they don't have to, go through the same healing problem. So all the work that we're doing now is not lost, you know what I mean? So, yeah. What did it say? Okay. So we're going to move to topic number 3 now. Okay. And this one, I'm very passionate about. This one, I feel like, is Delina has a lot of, not a lot of experience in, but she had her experience to where she's experienced her fair share as well. You know what I mean? I want to talk about traits and behaviors that y'all women can use when y'all are dealing with these men, that y'all can identify in these men. Even if they're not the most densest of behaviors, even if you barely see it, right? That behavior is still there, right? These behaviors are behaviors of successful, driven, emotionally stable men that I feel like if you are thinking about polygamous, or that does bring it up to you, that you may have a chance or an ounce of hope with, of having something successful, of not getting hurt. Before I go in, do you want to speak on this? Because I know that we want to make women aware of the different men that are out here that are using it. So
Yeah, I feel like, if you are interested as a woman in polygamy and you're looking, for a man to build with, I feel like some of the traits that you need to look for are, I would say, or I guess I could talk about some traits that may be some red flags.
yeah, so yeah, some red flags that you'll find in men that don't breed for successful monogamous or polygamous relationships. So, when she identifies these behaviors, know that when you're dealing with these men on the Instagram community or just in your life, identify these behaviors in men. Even if they're small, these behaviors, they may be small, but these things can grow in a matter of instances. You know what I mean? So, we need to make these red flags aware, especially to women, and for the men out there, that if you have these red flags, that we know that you're out there and we're hunting for you. You feel me? We coming for you. As we coming for that crown. But anyways, sorry.
Yeah, I would say one kind of thing to look out for is to make sure that he is communicative, that he is open and honest with you, and he doesn't really, kind of compartmentalize aspects of himself, because I feel like when that occurs, there isn't an openness when it comes to polygamy, and it's very, again, one-sided, where the woman isn't involved. I think another aspect is if things happen too quickly. I feel like if things are just moving very quickly, even with you and within your relationship, um, when it comes to being intimate or just in general, you know. Um, and when it comes to him wanting to bring in another individual, there will be a quickness with that as well. Just know that, you know. And so it kind of shows that there isn't this sense of wanting to really truly build a strong foundation or bond. You know, it shows more that it's more of a thrill. You know, it's more for thrill seeking, and it's more of a thing for pleasure or to please the senses than it is for a true, genuine connection. So yeah, just pay attention to the pace of kind of how they interact with you, and advance and are wanting to advance within the relationship with you personally. So that's another thing. I would say, I don't know. Do you have anything to say about that before I continue?
No, I agree with you. You know, yeah, you have to identify these traits early in these men. You know, don't be blind to them. You know, don't be blind to them. Like, understand that there are traits to toxic men. There are traits to good men. There are traits to successful men, right? So you'll notice that when it comes to successful men that become successful, let's say in a business sense, right? There are certain behaviors and traits that these men follow. Whether they may not be all the same way, but there's certain behaviors, you know. So there's behaviors of toxic men. There are behaviors of positive, good men, right? So understanding what behaviors are toxic and what behaviors are good, I feel like is the beginning piece. So when you're dealing with a man, right, and you're building that strong monogamous bond before you even think about a polygamous bond, you know, these are things that you can identify within your man to see if he's even a good man. You feel me? And I recommend, you know, setting up tests within your relationship, you know, and setting up checkpoints to where maybe, you know, you test your man, right? Like maybe to see if he's really loyal like he says, or if he's really about, you know, like what he's talking about, you know, test him. Like I definitely think that testing your partner in the relationship, you know, will definitely, you know, help to see if you're with the right person. You know, you test drive your car. You know, you go to an orientation before you go to college. You know, you go visit the campus. You know, you do a walkthrough. You know, you test like you walk through your job. You test it in your mind. You test everything like before you get into anything. So test your partner. You know, you know, just be aware of the things in the beginning stages of the relationship, and don't be like okay, like this is just one bad thing out of 1,000. No, like figure out why he has that bad thing and where it came from. Ask him about it. Talk to him about it, because that bad thing that you might see may be a trauma that he needs to heal from. You know what I mean? So I definitely just wanted to build off that real quick before you go in.
No, I definitely agree with you on um, kind of recognizing and looking at these things early on. I feel like sometimes we don't really see things until it's too late, you know, or it's already in the midst of things. But it's important to kind of look at these things early on, you know, and if we do kind of, you know, have an intuition or feeling about it, do kind of bring it up or test it to see just how things go and how things play out.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
He also needs to be honest, and I would say relay information, especially when he's interested in adding to the relationship. You need to be involved in that process as well. I don't think that another queen or a king should be added to the relationship, and the main king or queen just finds out that day who that person is. You know, that's disrespectful.
Yeah,
There was no respect. Yeah, you didn't respect or honor that person by doing that. So making them a part of the process honors them and shows them that you respect them.
You know, and real quick, you're exactly right. And these are signs that you can peep within small things, right? So, you know, men are good at hiding things, just like women are. You know what I mean? So a man might come in with one agenda Sorry about that, guys. The live timed out. Right. So tune back in, and we're gonna get it. Right. But you know, like you were like that's real. You know that's stuff that can be found in other things. You know, so that you don't even have to come to that point. You know, you can see if a person's honest to see if he's like is a man of his word. You know, peace and love. You know, is you can see if the man is a man of his word. You can tell if a man's honest by just the way he walks. You feel me? Like you can tell if a man's honest by the way he walks. Just it's something about a man that you can tell that if he's really genuine or not. You know, and you're exactly right. Honesty is the most important thing outside of communication. You know, but being able to communicate that honesty is a thing as well. You know what I mean? That we need to get into as well. So we're gonna go ahead and bring in our other goddess. We're gonna send her this live, right? And we're gonna finish for like another 15 minutes, and then we're gonna call it. There we go. She's popped in, right? You know, we connected, right? All psychically, right? Right. But we're gonna go ahead for another 15 minutes, and it's 12:30 over here in the TX. You feel me? So. We got work in the morning and shit. So we're gonna go for another 15 minutes, and then we're gonna cap it off, and we're gonna come back later on, and we're gonna build on this for like a part 3, right? But yeah, honesty is key, you know. But being able to express that honesty and communicate that honesty, right? So it's being in a relationship. It takes communication. It takes honesty, right? But then it comes applying that communicative skill to the honesty, right? So now it's communicating that honesty with your partner. You know what I mean? So it's not just being honest, but being able to communicate the honesty in a way to where your partner can perceive and understand it. You know what I mean? So I just wanted to add that in before you give your input, Queen.
Yeah, I would say kind of look to see if they tend to compartmentalize things when it comes to
Explain that.
Yeah. So I would say in their day-to-day lives, if they're not completely if it seems that they kind of have multiple sides to them, you know, where depending on who they're around, it seems like they kind of mold or morph to fit into whatever. It's
energy shifting.
Shape shifting, and I feel like it's really important to look out for that and look out for consistency in their character and everyone that they interact with. I feel like that's something that's really, really important because they can say one thing or act one way with you, but then act another way with someone else, and that can, carry over into the relationship and their interactions if they are trying to, build with another woman and things of that nature.
I'll be back.
Okay. Do you have anything to add, Zoe?
Not exactly. But you're right. I would say communication is the biggest part of any relationship. And having that.
Yeah. So we said communicator.
Yeah, it's the biggest part of any relationship, and having that down pat as well as honesty put you in a better place for avoiding red flags.
And I think that, also you can tell if a man's really for it if he has a plan. I feel like a man that has a plan, has a chance at life, because he has, viewed his life, his perspective, for me, I've already visualized my entire life until I died, right? I've already planned everything out, and I know it's not going to come exactly to how it, physically or mentally looks in my mind, but I have an idea on how my life's going to play out. I've already visualized like my entire life, and I already got plans and steps, so I feel like a man having a plan, and not being able to just tell you that it's for financial reasons or It's what our ancestors did. But a man that can explain it in many different perspectives, a man that has pondered on this idea for eons, you know what I mean? Not eons, but, you know, y'all get the answer rhetoric I'm using, you know, for months, for, you know, actually have thought about it in many different forms, has to imagine himself not just hanging out with your partners, holding their hands, but what the hard times are going to be like, you know what I mean? How, you know, how they're going to act when both the women are mad at him, you know, when it's both his fault, you know what I mean? Because handling, handling one woman that's mad at you is one thing, but handling two women that are mad at you because you do some dumb shit, that's a whole nother way, you know? So a man that has imagined himself even in the bad times, you know what I mean? Because, you know, like when it comes to polygamy, like we can only imagine the good times, you know what I mean? But a man that has visualized himself, that has thought about himself, you know, during the bad times, the good times, you know, has thought about the children, how the children are going to be able to view him, how the children are going to be able to view the different partners, how the children are going to be able to view the relationship between the partners, you know, how you want your children to grow up. Like, this is all stuff that needs to be planned out and thought out that you need to bring to your woman as a man. You know, if you're even bringing up this idea, you know, if you're just bringing up, it's for alpha, it's what our ancestors did before we were colonized, you know, it's for nation building, but not going into the emotional part of it, the emotional, the healing aspects of it, the traumatic aspects of it, you know. Like, you can tell if a man's really serious about it by the way he comes about it and explains it and the different thoughts that he brings to the table, you know.
Yeah, I just want to add into that. If the man has no sense of direction whatsoever, you know, where he has no sense of where he's going or a goal or purpose, or he's following someone else.
Following somebody else's journey and
Yeah,
trying to
following
reflect
someone.
that in their lives. Yeah.
Exactly. That's a big one to watch out for. Is to make sure that he has his own passion that, you know, burns within him, that is ignited within him. This is something that me and Zoe were just talking about earlier today when it comes to our purposes, and how you can tell when it's really something that's from, you know, within you, versus something that you're doing
Or it's given to you.
or yeah, versus something that someone else is doing, and you kind of think, oh, you know, that, like, that would be cool if I did that, or you know, just following someone else because you don't have this sense of
So,
of of yeah. So yeah, I would say that one of the biggest things is to look out and see, like, does he have his own purpose, his own things that he's passionate about? Is he not just following somebody else? Um, because then, you know, if he's following someone else, then whichever way that individual goes is the way that is going to be the determining factor for not only him, but your relationship and everything else. And you know, he's not really going to truly lead you in an individualistic way when it comes to your own relationship and your needs. And
exactly.
it's going to be very cookie cutter, you know, because it's not personalized. It's not coming from within him. It's not driven from him.
Facts. And to build off what you're saying real quick, is you're exactly right. You know, a lot of people just see other people doing it and they want to do it. And they're following this person or people's, whoever they're following, and reflecting it. And they don't realize that every relationship is different, right? So you trying to mimic another person's relationship within your own, not realizing that your relationship requires something different because you're on your own path. You think for yourself, you know, well, you might not think for yourself, but you're supposed to think for yourself. You know what I mean? You don't realize that it's not going to work out because you have your own shit that you need to work on, but you're trying to reflect another person's relationship into your own, you know? So I definitely agree with that. And I definitely feel you on that, because there are a lot of men out here that don't have that emotional reactor, that flame that lights up their passion, that lights up their journey, that lights up their day every day, and that motivates them to get done. Like, I've seen too many people, you know, fall to the wayside when it comes to chasing their dreams. They say they want to do something, right? They go out and do it, or they get hurt and they stop doing it. You know what I mean? And for me, it's always been something that I've been passionate about this my entire life, and you know, I went through my stages of depression, got distracted in the system, like we all had, like you know, like we all did, and you know, after I woke up and I realized that I've been on my journey ever since, and I haven't stopped no matter what experiences that I've dealt, even if. Like even when you know I left Cali and moved back to here with nothing, you know, even when I sold the van, you know, even when I moved to Cali with nothing, you know, that didn't stop me from my journey. That didn't stop me, you know. So I definitely feel you on that, and I think you're exactly right. You know, is a lot of these men don't have that passion to want to be independent, to want to be like to build something for themselves, and to you know teach them own selves right, and to prove their own selves right. You know, like they always want to prove other people right. You know, if
Yeah.
it's not like, man, I
And
want three queens because I want it to look cool, and I want certain people to think of me as an alpha. You know what I mean? But that don't like just because you have two queens or even one queen makes you alpha. You know, you like it's about being an emotional alpha. Like it's about being emotionally there. You know, but
mhm. Yeah, and I just want to add on to that. Just another thing to look out for is, you know, is this to, you know, kind of see if this is something that they actually want to do, or is it is it just a trend to them, you know? So I feel like ways that you can kind of identify to see if it's just a trend for them is to kind of just see in what areas of their life and what other areas, or even just hearing about past experiences, or if you've been with them for a while, and let's say you're with them when they, you know, weren't awakened, you know, and when it came to them following just the simple trends of
like
what celebrities were doing and what people were wearing and this and that, um, you know, um, and if those patterns and behaviors are then carried over into their awakening or their spiritual lifestyle, where they're still kind of following the trends, you know. So I think that's another thing to look out for. You know, see like if what they're doing is truly coming from within them, or you know, I get that people are influenced at times, or that they're motivated by certain things or inspired by certain things, but there's if that's something that's constantly kind of being done, where it seems like it's more so of them just following the trends, and that's something to look out for if you're looking for a partner who you really want to be in a genuine polygamous relationship with.
mm. And I feel like you know as well is that when it comes to relationships, I feel like more like majority of women are actually looking to settle down and build, like rather than men, you know. And I feel like for us as a man, you know, we're already demasculated, like we're already emasculated, like we're already, you know, the bottom of the barrel. So I feel like, you know, a lot of these men are just not emotionally mature enough. Like they're just emotionally damaged. They're just emotionally retarded. Like I'm gonna be real. Like that's a new word, emotionally retarded. Like that's what I'm gonna start calling these men. You know what I mean? Because you have to be. These men are just hopping into relationships and just hurting and causing women more hurt. You feel me? And I know that you experienced this, and I don't know if you want to explain this experience now, or if you don't want to go really that in detail, but if you want to kind of get a general synopsis of like your experience that you have, you know, like A1 experience about this type of shit, and how guys just are seeing other niggas do it. And it's crazy because I seen like niggas wear a bandana a certain way or wear like a headscarf a certain way, and then now you see a wave of niggas rocking the same shit, and it's like, bro, like y'all niggas don't think for yourselves. Like y'all niggas aren't like, you have to be emotionally independent, and you have to be you know, an emotional alpha to be able to you know, handle multiple women and keep it sustainable, you know, and to give them. See, there's some people that have polygamous relationships that like they don't even show their women emotional love. So what I mean by that is, right, a nigga might have 5 to 10 women, right? But I guarantee you, he don't know what happened in their childhood. I guarantee you that he don't know their favorite color when they were child. I guarantee you that he don't know all their memories. I guarantee you he don't know anything that you're supposed to know about your woman. You know what I mean? When it takes the real deep emotional one-on-one time. You know what I mean? So I feel like a lot of these men don't know their woman's favorite color, don't know the woman's birthday, don't know, you know, anything about what they went through as as a child, but they have 5 wives and acting like they happy, when he knows nothing about their emotional state, like nothing about their childhood. He don't know the woman anything. So I feel like a lot of men just copy, monkey see, monkey do type shit. You feel me? And you can see it on these niggas' Instagrams. It's just so obvious. But yeah.
No, I definitely agree. And just as far as me, to give a little bit of background, not to go too much into it,
Mm-hmm.
I was in a polygamous situation where, initially getting into the relationship, I was attracted to him because it felt like it was someone who I could talk to and build with when it came to knowledge and things like that. He presented himself in a certain way where it seemed as though he was really, about um, building, and about really just healing and growing. And, there was a lot of things that he kind of presented. Whereas the further that I got into the relationship, I realized that it wasn't, it wasn't him. It was something that he was following. It
Mm-hmm.
was a idea and image that he was following. Um, and that kind of was the same thing when it came to his interest within polygamy, where there was no plan or sense of reasoning as to why he wanted to do polygamy. It was more so a trend of following just as he was doing everything else. And
Lustful desire, basically.
yeah, and so what resulted is it wasn't, and I think this is a lot of women's fear, is getting into a polygamous relationship or having a man who presents this idea of polygamy to them, is that it's going to just be a strictly sexual thing, where it's going to be them wanting to, just have sex with other women or to share their energy with other women, and for it not to be about building in so many other ways.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so that was definitely my experience, um, my initial experience with polygamy. And I will say that a lot of women who experience that probably wouldn't be where I'm at right now. That probably would have turned them off to polygamy completely.
For life. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I think that I had to, or what I came to the realization is that um, there are certain traits that you have to look for, and certain things within men, and I had to do some healing within my own self for me to, think about, well, why did I even attract this person?
Mm-hmm.
Why did I attract this person initially, and why did, we vibrate to each other? And I think not, um, I feel like it came down to me not being clear about my intentions, from the beginning. And I feel like because of that, me not putting that out there, it kind of left room for just anything to happen. So I feel like that's
Yeah.
so important, is the intention in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
But
If
yeah.
you're not detailed in the rules or in the law, then the
Mhm.
law is open to interpretation. You know what I mean? So
Exactly.
I see that. And I have a question for you before we get out of here. You know what I mean? Because it is kind of late. It's nearing 1 o'clock here in Texas. You know what I mean? Almost, like your time, as well. So, you not allowing that relationship to scare you away from polygamy, right? Obviously, you didn't want to hop back into another relationship like that. So,
Mhm.
when you met me and Zoe, when you heard me speaking the same type of growing, healing, emotional rhetoric, it's not the same, you know.
Mhm.
Obviously, you can tell the difference, because his is more regurgitated, more, tapped in from another person, what were some of the differences that you saw in my energy versus his energy that kind of eased you up to being more accepting of it again, like not being as hurt or thinking or projecting that relationship onto me? Because that's something that I have to give you credit for, that I just not realizing, that you didn't project that experience onto our relationship. like you didn't project that energy onto me, and that's something that I have to give you thanks and respect for, because some women would have, will project that hurt onto me, and then, or project that hurt onto their king or whoever they're trying to deal with, and that can cause issues. So I definitely like honor that about you. I respect that about you.
Yeah, I think again it all comes down to the time in between
Mm-hmm.
that relationship and this one was, I really kind of sat with myself and recognized the things that I wasn't being clear in. And when it came to me being in a relationship, um, I wasn't being clear on exactly what I wanted, not as detailed as that as I should have been.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like once I kind of put that out there and the things that I know that for me would help me grow
Mm-hmm.
and would be good for me, and that I wanted to see within a polygamous relationship, I feel like that gravitated towards me, and I was able to see that. So I don't know if that answers your question, but
Yeah, and real quick, so like, what within him versus within me did you feel that was different? Like when I because I obviously told you that I was polygamous. After a certain amount of time that we connected, like that's how we got to this point in the first place. So what did you see within me that was different when I was talking about polygamy versus the individual that you were with, that we're not gonna name right now?
I think it was just, well, first of all, like I saw a passion within you. I saw that you had a vision, and it wasn't um, a borrowed vision.
Mm.
I think that's the first thing that I saw. Because I think, even if I think after a period of time of talking with someone and you can tell if they're following someone else's journey,
Mm.
you can kind of tell by the way that they
Speak.
respond to things, because when they don't know how to respond to something, because it's not within that framework that they're following, um, it's like they almost don't know what to do or to
Mm.
say,
Like,
so.
so like regurgitated information or information that they receive from somebody else will come through, and you can be able
Yeah.
to tell. Mm-hmm.
hmm Or it's, you can ask them to expand upon the things that they regurgitate, and it's, they don't, they don't have anything else to say about it.
Right.
Um, but I think also something that I kind of noticed within you, or I appreciated within you, was that when you spoke about polygamy, it was very much from every angle, and I could tell that it was something that wasn't just sexual for you. It wasn't just you were following a trend. It was something that you were very passionate about for many reasons. And I think that kind of just bringing everything, um, not just from like a very um, broad spectrum, but like for you personally, like
Mm-hmm.
why it was close to you that you wanted to be polygamist. I feel like that is what um, was definitely a difference.
Agree. I agree. And I feel like with me, I'm more instead of more, this relationship is more children oriented. You know what I mean? It's more building towards the future. It's more we see which way the world's going. We see which way we're being treated now, and it's like we're taking the step as future potential parents. And we're like, we're gonna do what best we think is for our children, you know, and we're taking what we see how the world went when it comes to the internet. We've seen how the internet removed jobs. We see how automation is about to remove jobs. We see the way that the world's going. You know what I mean? So we're preparing for that world, and I feel like this type of relationship is the best when it comes to that world. Um, but it has to take the right individuals to make it work, and it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of work. If I wasn't doing my last 2 years of spiritual work, I wouldn't even be here right now with these two beautiful goddesses speaking, like, like on this camera with you. If Delina didn't do her work, if Zoe didn't do her work, a year in advance, then none of us would be here right now. So it took a lot of work to get to this point, and it's not easy. It's not as if you guys let's just get together and make it work, and no, it takes real hard work and dedication, real emotional work, stuff that a lot of men don't want to do. Stuff that a lot of women don't want to do. It's more easier to be monogamous. It's more comfortable to be, single. But to actually challenge yourself, to want to better yourself, to want to help yourself grow, and to push yourself and to stimulate your own growth, this is the perfect way to do it. So, that's all I got to say about that.
Yeah, and the kind of the last thing I want to say is that, for the people who are watching now or later on, who, do feel drawn to this or inspired, don't hop straight into this, like take things slowly. Like, you really need to make sure that you're ready for this. Like there's steps for a reason. And when it comes to, like, be honest with yourself and where you're at right now. Be honest with the healing that you need to do. Be honest if you still need to be single and that you have things that you need to heal from. Don't just hop into this or try to hop into this because you want this, amazing bond when you're not ready for it. You need to prepare yourself. So that's all I want to say.
Anything, babe? Close out, or you agree?
I agree.
I agree too. And this was a powerful build. This was a healing build. I feel like this was a beacon of awareness that was shot out. And I hope that everybody that tunes in, that's watching it right now, that will watch it after, has, got a more holistic, more whole view of is polygamy and the different ways and steps needed to even enter it, and how much work it takes, and some of y'all might not want to take that work. Some of y'all may want to be complacent, and that's fine. You know what I mean? To each his own, but for us, I constantly want to be the best man that I can be. I constantly want to, grow and evolve and become more loving, more caring, more gentler. You know what I mean? Also being a protector and being, and like surrounded in the masculine as well, So, this video, I hope inspires and helps, like other women think differently, think spontaneously. And like the goddess said, don't immediately jump into these relationships. Think about it. Ask questions, test your man about it. Make sure that he knows his shit, because he might just seen another nigga doing it and want to do it. You know what I mean? So test that nigga. You feel me? Ask the nigga a question. Hound the nigga down. Like, if he brings it up, be like, okay, give me 1 hour, and then go, like go write 100 motherfucking questions. You know what I mean? And if he can't explain all the 100 questions, then he don't need to be in that relationship. You know what I mean? So, it takes a certain level of men. It takes a certain level of an emotional consciousness to even reach there. And these men are still chasing the knowledge consciousness. Like they haven't even tapped into the different levels of the emotional consciousness. You know what I mean? So you have to be in like emotional alpha. You have to be tapped into the emotional aspect to be able to do it and sustain it long term. Or you're going to be just giving your woman an unemotional partner. A shell. With the ghost in it. You know what I mean? So. That's basically it, guys. We thank y'all for tuning in. I'm grateful. I'm pretty sure the queens are grateful as well. Thank you for tuning into the Triunity's frequency. You know what I mean? So we're gonna be doing this about once a week or twice a week. We're gonna be doing weekly shows, weekly topics, weekly discussions. So DM us, DM the queens, DM me, and we're gonna pick these different topics and we're gonna go on them. So we're not gonna be talking about just polygamy. We're gonna be talking about all different subjects. When it comes to food, biology, anatomy, numerology, astrology. Like, we're gonna go into all this different types of stuff. So stay tuned, guys. It's not gonna be just polygamy. So like, we're gonna have things for all levels of consciousness. So peace and love, right? Bye, queen. We're gonna DM you after. We're gonna call you after. So we'll see y'all later. Peace and love.